Aqib Talib traded from the Broncos to the Rams. So the new starting corners in Los Angeles for the Rams, Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. Can you say no-fly zone 2.0? My goodness, they are making some moves. Now, we knew the Broncos were going to be unloading Talib at some point before the 14th, but this is somewhat of a surprise. Yeah. The Rams have been very active.
They have been very active. I'm a little upset, as you could probably tell, that he left the AFC West. I'm really broken up about this. But for the Rams, an explosive offense, and now you pair that with two really good corners. Marcus Peters, who I think is one of the best corners in the league. Aqib maybe getting a little bit older, but he still has that knack for ball hawking ability, can lock guys up in the slot, can play physical man-to-man coverage. So I really like what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball to kind of maybe get a couple more stops because of how explosive this offense is. They just had to get off the field a couple more times. They'd have been in a lot better shape.
And you pair that back end now to the front end that's going to have Aaron Donald, assuming they can eventually get him locked up. This is a pretty stout-looking defense, Jason.
Yeah, this is a really important thing for them is to get Aaron Donald taken care of. And we talked yesterday, they traded Ogletree, they got rid of Robert Quinn, so you start to wonder what's going on with the Rams. And now we see their plan, reload that back end, and as David said, try to get more possessions for that offense, a very potent, quick-scoring offense. And they can get Donald taken care of, who I think is the best D-tackle in the league. I mean, they're going to be a stout team.
Aqib Talib back with Wade Phillips, who he, of course, was working with in Denver. Ian Rappaport joining us now. Ian, what are you hearing about the way this deal came together?
At this point, we're still working on exact details of what is going from Los Angeles to Denver, but here's what we know. Aqib Talib is going from Denver to Los Angeles, and this is something that I'm reporting along with James Palmer, something that had been happening throughout the course of the day. There certainly were other teams interested, including the New England Patriots. And for Talib, there were really only two places he wanted to go. New England, where, of course, he had a lot of success with Bill Belichick and the Patriots, and then Los Angeles with the Rams, where he would get to play under Wade Phillips, his former defensive coordinator in Denver, someone he has a lot of affection for. And I know this is something that Wade Phillips certainly would appreciate as well. But now for the Rams, they have had a very, very busy offseason. We know they traded Robert Quinn to the Miami Dolphins recently. We also know they picked up Marcus Peters from the Kansas City Chiefs. So that is essentially their secondary now. They let Jermaine Johnson go toward free agency, and they restock with Peters and Talib. A big offseason for the Los Angeles Rams, one of the young budding teams in the NFL who seemingly get stronger.
Do they have the money for this, Ian? $27 million roughly of cap space. They've obviously moved some stuff around, but Aqib is not exactly cheap. They're going to have to, I guess Marcus Peters is already on a rookie deal, so that's not particularly expensive.
And remember, they've been carrying Tremaine Johnson on the franchise tag for 2 years now, so that basically comes off the books. Talib is a little bit older, but several $1 million less expensive than Tremaine Johnson. They did deal about $20 million in salary over the next 2 years, and Robert Quinn headed to the Dolphins. They still have things they want to do. Of course, they are carrying a franchise tag themselves in LaMarcus Joyner. Now, a little cheaper, but still a franchise tag, and they'd like to sign Sammy Watkins, their receiver, who they traded with the Bills for before the season. They'd like to sign him to a deal before free agency, but they do have the money for this. The Rams have made space, and they have added a big-time cornerback. Right now.
Thank you, Ian. Obviously, you brought up an interesting name there in Tremaine Johnson. We assumed that he would not be back in L.A. They said in Indianapolis that they wanted to bring him back. We figured that might just be lip service, that he might be too expensive. But this obviously pretty much means that he will, in fact, hit the free agent market.
Yeah, I would think so. I think that when I was watching the cut-ups of these guys and the clips, you start to think about the attitude and the presence that you want on the back end, or on a young defense or a young offense team. That team is a young football team. There's not a lot of just natural leadership, especially in the back end. So I think to bring in guys like this, like Aqib you've seen it. We've seen him up close with Crabtree. He likes to mix it up. He's very confident in his abilities. He'll take chances in the secondary, especially even on good players, sitting on routes. So he's a guy that can create turnovers for your football team. And when you have a team that can create turnovers on defense and score a ton of points on offense, and you couple that with Marcus Peters on the other side, who's pretty much the exact same type of player, just a little bit younger, mean, that's scary, really.
You talk about turnovers. The turnover in the cornerback ranks for the Rams has been unbelievable the last couple of years. They let Janoris Jenkins sign with the Giants. Trumaine Johnson is going to be gone. Now you have 2 starting corners. They also signed Sam Shields, so certainly not afraid to make any moves in this Rams front office. This, in my mind, makes this one of the best cornerback tandems in the NFL right now.
Well, and like when Wade was in Denver, really anywhere he's been, he likes to do that. He likes to get 2 guys that can lock you up on the outside and let that front
play
7, play man-to-man coverage and just let those front guys get after the quarterback. And he's got what he wants here. I
think it speaks a lot to Wade Phillips, and players want to go play for him. And as you said, his style of defense is get 2 guys on the outside that can lock up, get a nickel on the inside that can do a lot of different things, whether it be blitzing or playing man, drop it in the zone, and then let those big guys up front eat. So, I mean, this is Wade Phillips putting his stamp again on the Los Angeles Rams. And you start to look at this division, and you see all the turnover yesterday in Seattle, and then all the additions here going on with the Rams. I mean, Rams already had a great year in that division, but the NFC West is going through Los Angeles.
All right, let's bring James Palmer in now. Broke the news on Twitter. He, of course, lives in Denver, very tied into that Broncos organization. We expected something to happen with Aqib Talib. How did this actually come to fruition, this trade with the Rams?
Yeah, Dan, it's been, they've been trying to shop him for a little while, and then, it was up in the air about whether his future was going to be in Denver, and then it kind of circled back a little bit that there would be a chance that maybe he would remain in Denver, and with that getting out there, maybe, some teams start realizing that they would maybe have to trade for Aqib Talib and he would not be released. But obviously the numbers in terms of his salary were the reason. It wasn't his play, and the success that Denver had when Wade Phillips was in Denver with substantial corners like Chris Harris, who they picked up his option, and now he'll slide into the number 1 spot with the Broncos, and Bradley Roby. When they have great corners, when Wade Phillips has great corners, you see how creative he can be and how successful he can be with a defensive unit. And obviously the tie with Talib and Wade Phillips goes back, and there was some talk with the Patriots. Talib always had interest in Bill Belichick and a respect for him after his time there, but it really looked like the Rams is the one that won out, but they definitely shopped him around and definitely were trying to find the best suitor. Obviously didn't want to see him walk in terms of just releasing him and not getting anything in return.
Well, let me spin this forward just a little bit, James. They are clearing the deck for the potential addition of one quarterback who could possibly be named Kirk Cousins. Am I correct? Or trying to anyway.
Yeah, they're going to be in the market for sure with every free agent quarterback that's out there, from Teddy Bridgewater to A.J. McCarron to, obviously Kirk Cousins is definitely someone that they have their eye on. John Elway believes they're not that far off, that really the mistakes at the quarterback position, the number of turnovers that they had playing 3 different guys back there was the number 1 reason this team didn't succeed, with 22 turnovers from the quarterback position. That was their main issue, and then the offensive line is their second priority in protecting whatever quarterback comes in here. Kirk Cousins is definitely on their list, and we know that they've been through this situation before. Remember, Kirk Cousins is talking about maybe making a couple of visits, maybe spending some time and seeing where he lands. This is something that they went through with Peyton Manning, trying to lure him to Denver. So John Elway has experience with trying to sell the Denver Broncos to a high-profile quarterback, and it looks like they're going to try to do that again.
All right, so a 5th-round draft pick to the Broncos in exchange for their best defensive back in Aqib Talib. James Palmer breaking the news. Wade Phillips very excited to be reunited with Talib. This is the video that the Rams tweeted out a short time ago. Is that a GIF? What is that? Is that a Wade Phillips GIF?
I think it is. I like it.
You're so social media literate. I like
I'm just wondering, or illiterate, whatever the case may be. When you have a player that you're familiar with and that we talked about this earlier in the show, it makes it that much easier for him to acclimate to the defense.
Very easy transition. I mean, it's plug and play. I mean, he knows what they want to do, and they know how that player plays.
Yeah, I'm right with you. And then you got some guys that you can kind of fear on the outside. From a quarterback's perspective, it's pretty good.
Kind of, or very much
so. A little bit.
Yeah.
One more bit.